Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Hope you're having a fantastic day. This is going to be a Diablo 4 video talking about the general consensus of opinions. I've probably spent about 25-30 hours going through watching all sorts of different videos from all sorts of different perspectives and all the content creators and reading all of the topics and all the articles and consuming all of the content that I possibly can. I've personally talked with probably 25 different content creators for Diablo, D2 grinders, D3 grinders, MMO, World of Warcraft grinders, and all of that. So what I'm going to do in this video is not necessarily give you my opinion, but just keep you in the loop of what the consensus overarching just perspective of the community in general after week 1 of the Diablo 4 beta, and then we might revisit this and do this again in a week after week 2 of the open beta, because we're going to get a lot more people playing, and then we'll also have the 2 new classes, and we will hopefully have some more input from Blizzard and all of that. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so down there on the bottom right of the screen, I've got the different topics we're going to be touching on and discussing, and letting you know how the gaming community at large feels and what the overarching consensus is. So first of all, in terms of aesthetics, I would say this is definitely positive, or has been positively received. So it seems to be a little bit more of a return back to the roots of Diablo, the darker, more desolate theme, and straying a little bit more away from Diablo 3. So in general, the aesthetics are definitely in the plus category, and everything is good so far. And also combat is being very well received. Combat feels very good, feels very impactful when you press a key. The audio seems pretty good. There's been some complaints about the music in the community, but the actual audio of the abilities and just combat in general, how it feels. We're going to touch on melee a little bit later, but all in all, the combat section is definitely a positive so far. Then for the classes, so as of right now, everybody thinks that the sorceress or sorcerer is insanely strong and is just by far and away clearly the best class. People think that the rogue is fun and interesting, but maybe not as crazy as the sorcerer, although there are some people that think rogue is amazing and has some awesome builds. But as far as the 3 classes that we've been able to play so far, I would say the general consensus opinion is that Sorcerer is the best, Rogue is in the middle, and then Barbarian is definitely the one that the community is the lowest on right now. Dynamic level scaling is getting a lot of discussion in the community, and a lot of people are worried about how this functions or don't like how it functions. If you're not playing the beta, what this is when you're in a party, let's say, I'm a level 25, and I group up with someone who's level 5. When we attack a mob, the level 5 person is hitting a level 5 enemy, and then me being level 25 is hitting a level 25 enemy, even though we're both hitting the same exact enemy. It does dynamic scaling based on who is fighting it on their end. So it kind of splits each enemy into multiple versions of itself based on who is hitting it. Now, there's positives and negatives to this. There is like, anybody can group up and feel impactful instead of that level 5 person playing with a level 25 a friend. Then they're gonna feel worthless and like they just kind of follow them and wait for them to kill stuff. But also it can be a big bummer for a level 25 person to be getting carried by a level 5 person and be like, wait a minute, that enemy is so much worse and you're able to do it better than I am. Why am I wasting all this time leveling up? It doesn't even get me anywhere. So there's definitely a push and pull to that, and I would say it's getting a lot of chatter in the community and probably mostly leaning in the negative direction. It's something that is really a culture shock to Diablo players that are used to getting stronger within the context of the game, and a level 50 character obviously always easily carrying a level 5 character, where the level 5 character can't even do anything to remotely touch keeping up with them. So that is going to be a big jolt to the Diablo community in how it functions in Diablo 4. Then for dungeons, which you see me clearing right here as an example of clearing a dungeon, I would say dungeons are definitely being received negatively because there is a lot of backtracking mechanics, which can be super annoying. Like, you gotta kill these 5 things to unlock the boss fight, and you kill 4 of them, and then you're like, wait a minute, where's the 5th one? Oh, I gotta go all the way back to where I came from, and then after I do that, I gotta come all the way back to where I was. And all the dungeons are very copy paste, same overarching theme. There isn't a whole lot of fun and interesting things, but people are also saying, you know, hey, it's not fair. We've only seen Act 1, and I'm sure that Blizzard's going to release new dungeons and new mechanics and new ways to kind of look at this outside of the beta. But all in all, dungeons right now are definitely in the negative category for how the community is viewing them. Then for loot, I would say the general consensus is that it's okay. It's not like super fun, super amazing, but it's also a step up from some of the like stuff in Diablo 3 because you get aspects to play with that you can extract off of gear and put it on other pieces, and you can do a little bit more customization. So all in all, I think that the community feels the canvas is there for a fun system, but it's not quite there yet. There's still a long way to go in terms of making the loot grind a lot of fun and a lot more robust. And then problems with melee. So like I said earlier, the people are really feeling the barbarian is the worst class of the three. Obviously, you'll get some pushback on that, and some people think the barbarian is awesome and they love it. But I'm trying to speak to you in terms of what the general opinion is. And there's a lot of enemies in the game that, or at least right now, from what we've seen in the beta, there's a lot of enemies that like run away from you, or you have to chase down, or boss fights that are constantly keeping range from you, and you can't hit them with a melee character, which again, you know, personally, I would say we've only seen the first 25 levels, so we haven't seen the end game when melee builds are really fully cracked out in a party and farming the end game. But in the early game, in Act 1, right now, there are definite problems with melee where the barbarian just can't keep up with the sorcerer. But I would caution some of that because this is true in a lot of RPGs. Like, if you look at the first 25 levels of Diablo 3, the necromancer just completely demolishes every other class. Every other class is completely worthless compared to the necromancer in the first 25 levels. Like, you'd be running around doing nothing with a barbarian, trying to keep up with a necromancer that's running around with its default abilities that pierce and hit multiple things, and then corpse explosion blowing up the whole screen. You'd be like, this is just stupid. So it's a common theme. The melee characters aren't really going to shine until later when they can get a fully optimized build. I think just in general, Diablo Immortal had this problem as well, where range classes, they just have those advantages. They're just easier to get to a point where they can get consistent value, whereas the melee character is really going to need like those movement speed abilities and things to close the gap and all sorts of buffs that they can bring for the party, and you need to get it up and rolling a little bit more before a melee class is going to feel as good as a range class, whereas range classes can just kind of jump in and they can start getting value because just the way that the playstyle functions is going to be a little bit more inducive to a beginner style. Then the UI is definitely being massively received negatively. So one of the most consensus things in Diablo 4 is that the UI just is not good. Like a lot of people are complaining about the text. A lot of people are complaining about just the mechanics of like partying up and how it functions, and how the UI just doesn't really feel like a Diablo game. It feels like they're trying to make sure that it can be ported to a mobile game or something. So I think we will definitely see a overhaul to the UI at some point. Maybe not, obviously not by this weekend for week 2 of the beta, but I bet you we definitely see an overhaul in the UI probably before the end of 2023, because this is pretty unanimously received as not liking the UI. Then for balance of skills, a lot of people are complaining that the nodes on the tree where you spend your level up points and all of that, that some of them are just way better than others, and there really isn't a whole lot of choice in terms of what you're going to be taking along your way, because some skills are awesome and then some skills are complete trash. So you know, this is something that isn't super surprising in the beta, because obviously Blizzard needs to get a lot of people playing the game and testing and get the theory crafting going on in the community to start and figure out like what's popular, what's functioning at a high level, what's crap, and then start fine tuning some numbers and adjusting things. So that's pretty well to be expected that the balance is going to be pretty poor with the first iteration of being able to play the game. And then I've also got busy work redos. I didn't know how to word this, but A lot of people in the Diablo community are voicing concern about having to run around and like click on altars. There's like the 28 different altars of Lilith all over the map that you have to walk around and claim. And then when you make a new character, you have to do that again. And it's just a massive feels bad. So there's lots of busy work you have to do on each class. And it's fun to hunt down and do one time. But to then like to do it on your sorcerer, and then you're like, hey, I want to try out a rogue. You make a rogue, and then you got to turn around and do all of that again, walking around the map, clicking on stuff when you just did it on your sorcerer. Going to be very annoying, and going to be very annoying in seasonal content when you got to do this on season 1 and season 2 and season 3. And by season 7 or 8, people are going to be really fed up with running around and clicking on those altars. They at least need to make it so it's account wide. Like if you do it once per season, you're done. Having to do it on every single character you play is exceedingly annoying, and hopefully they adjust some of the busy work like grabbing waypoints and grabbing altars and some of the stuff you have to run around for a few hours and do on the map. It would be nice if that's more of a one and done thing for your account as opposed to every single character you play. And I also didn't get this on the sheet, but there is a lot of people complaining about the amount of unskippable dialogue and how just copy and paste like every single dungeon and house and cellar is. Like they all look exactly the same, and they have like a person, walk into a room with somebody ready to be sacrificed on a table, and they have 45 seconds of dialogue that you can't skip. You have to watch it every single time, and then you do the exact same layout every single time. So definitely a little bit too repetitive with the unskippable dialogue and just the layouts of things like cellars and stuff like that. Then as we head into week 2 of the beta that's going to be launching here in a few days, I would say there's honestly a pretty equal split between being excited for the druid and being excited for the necro. What I'm seeing in the community is that people are excited to play both. And really, in terms of classes, all of them seem to be getting a pretty good following from the community and people that are excited for them. Between barbarian and rogue and sorcerer and druid and necro, they're all getting a pretty evenly distributed fan following that's excited to main that class and excited to really dive in and go hard on that class. I would say right now the barbarian is maybe the most hated on just because of the clunky melee mechanics for a leveling early game champion, but that's kind of to be expected, and I think the barbarian's always going to be a popular class, and Blizzard will definitely do something to get it right in the end, in the beginning game, and then they'll also make sure to constantly adjust things to try and make it viable in the end game, I'm sure, as we're still in the beta iterations and all of that. So yeah, that was me trying to lay out the consensus opinions and some of the main overarching themes of what is being discussed, just to keep you in the loop here on the channel. So yeah, remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Diablo 4 content. I'm going to be going hard in the paint for week 2, probably playing mostly Necro, and I am super excited to be doing a big stream on Saturday night, as I will be featured by Blizzard as one of the streamers for week 2 of the beta here. So going to be really exciting to dive in and do that. And yeah, I will see all of you in the next video. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.